that moment of hesitation before stepping off a curb, the subtle, unnerving wobble when walking across an uneven lawn. It is a quiet anxiety that one may find creeping into daily life, a private fear that a simple misstep could suddenly unravel a lifetime of independence. That feeling is not just in one's head, but a forgotten sense, a lost conversation between the body and the brain, could be the key to restoring confidence from the ground up. And it has nothing to do with just stretching more. For decades, the advice has been deceptively simple and, for many, frustratingly ineffective. One is told to be more careful, to strengthen the legs, or to simply accept the use of a cane or walker as an inevitable part of aging. While these measures can have their place, they often act as a bandage on a much deeper issue. They manage the symptom, instability, without ever addressing the root cause. This changes everything. The true culprit is often not a failure of muscle, but a failure of communication. Imagine a finely tuned internal guidance system, a biological marvel that operates silently every second of every day. This system tells the brain precisely where the arms, legs, and torso are in space without the need to look. It allows one to walk in the dark, to raise a cup to the lips with eyes closed, to navigate the world with an unconscious, automatic grace. This system is known to science as proprioception. It is, in essence, the body's forgotten sixth sense. This intricate network of specialized nerve endings, located in muscles, tendons, and joints, sends millions of data points to the brain every single second, a silent, ceaseless conversation that creates a living map of the body. This map is what allows for immediate, reflexive adjustments to a slippery surface or an unexpected bump in the path. But with time, and for reasons that have been largely ignored, that conversation can fade to a whisper. The brain's map becomes outdated, and the body begins to move with uncertainty. The decline of this sense is not a sudden event, but a slow, creeping erosion. It is a disconnect that leaves one feeling vulnerable, as if piloting a vessel with a faulty compass. The legs may still be strong, but if the brain does not receive clear, instantaneous signals about what they are doing and what they are standing on, that strength becomes almost irrelevant. This is the unseen threat to independence. It is not just about the fall itself, but the fear of the fall. A fear that can shrink one's world one cautious step at a time. So if this sense is so critical for confident movement, why does so much of modern health advice fail to address it directly? And what is truly happening inside the body when these vital signals begin to go offline? The weakening of proprioception is often mistakenly blamed solely on the passage of years. While age-related neurological changes can play a role, the primary culprits are far more related to modern lifestyle. For millennia, human beings walked barefoot or in minimalist footwear across varied, unpredictable terrain. Every rock, root, and slope provided a rich tapestry of sensory information to the feet, keeping the lines of communication to the brain wide open and lightning fast. Today, one's feet are often encased in thick, cushioned, and overly supportive shoes that effectively blindfold them. They walk on perfectly flat, predictable surfaces like pavement and indoor flooring. These modern conveniences, designed for comfort, have had an unintended consequence. They have starved the nervous system of the rich sensory input it requires to stay sharp. This is like trying to read a book while wearing thick mittens. The hands are still there, but the fine-tuned sense of touch required to feel the pages is lost. This sensory deprivation creates a dangerous cycle. The less the feet feel, the less the brain listens. The less the brain listens, the more uncertain movement becomes. This uncertainty leads to a natural, subconscious fear of moving, which in turn leads to a more sedentary life. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 1 in every 4 older adults experiences a fall each year. Even more concerning, less than half will mention it to their doctor. They may feel it is just a part of getting older, a sign of weakness, or simply an embarrassing mishap. It is not. It is a sign of a trainable system that has been left to languish. This is not about a loss of strength, but a loss of skill. And like any skill, it can be relearned. It can be reawakened. The constant fear of a catastrophic fall erodes the very quality of life one works so hard to preserve. It can prevent one from playing with grandchildren in the yard, from taking a walk in the woods, or from confidently navigating a busy supermarket. The fear itself becomes the prison, long before a fall ever occurs. The medical establishment often points to external aids like walkers and canes, tools of management rather than restoration. But what if the most powerful tool for rebuilding balance was already inside us, a dormant system waiting to be reactivated? The first step in this reawakening is surprisingly simple. And it begins not with the legs, but with the feet. The soles of the feet are two of the most neurologically dense areas of the entire human body. Each one contains thousands upon thousands of nerve endings, specialized receptors designed to detect pressure, vibration, texture, and stretch. They are the body's foundation, the interface between the internal self and the external world. They are not simply passive platforms for standing. They are active sensory organs, constantly sending a torrent of information up the kinetic chain, through the legs, past the spine, and into the brain. When this system is working optimally, the adjustments for balance are microscopic and instantaneous. The brain receives a signal that the body is tilting 1 millimeter to the left, and before the conscious mind can even register the thought, a countersignal is sent to the ankle and hip muscles to fire and correct the position by 1 millimeter to the right. This all happens in a fraction of a second. It is a seamless, elegant dance of neurology and biology. The solution to reawakening this system is not found in a prescription or a complicated piece of gym equipment. It is found in a series of gentle, mindful movements designed to force the brain to pay attention to the feet once again. This is neurological training, not just muscular conditioning. It is akin to a musician practicing scales to retrain the connection between their mind and their fingers. The goal is to make the communication so clear, so automatic, that it once again falls below the level of conscious thought. This is not a New Age theory. The science is robust. A 2018 study published in the esteemed Journal of the American Geriatric Society conducted a comprehensive review of dozens of clinical trials. The researchers found that specific exercise programs focused on balance and sensory feedback could reduce the rate of falls by up to an astonishing 30%. These programs work because they do not just build strength. They rebuild the conversation between the body and the brain. But how can one begin to retrain a sense they cannot consciously feel or see? The very first technique is powerfully counterintuitive. It involves removing support, not adding it, in a very specific and critically safe manner. The journey begins with a simple act: standing. But not just standing passively. It involves standing near a sturdy wall, a countertop, or the back of a heavy chair. Something absolutely stable to hold on to if needed. The first step is to simply shift one's weight onto one foot, lifting the other just an inch off the ground. The immediate instinct might be to tense up, to fight the wobble. But the goal here is the exact opposite. The purpose of this exercise is not to see how long one can stand on one leg. The duration is irrelevant. The purpose is to listen. With the hand hovering near the support for safety, the focus should turn entirely to the sole of the standing foot. One should try to feel the tiny, rapid-fire adjustments happening in the ankle. The micro-movements, the way the toes instinctively grip and release the floor, the way the pressure shifts from the inside to the outside of the foot and back again. This is it. This is the conversation. Those tiny movements are the physical manifestation of the brain and the foot talking to each other, recalibrating the internal map in real time. For the first few times, one may only be able to hold the position for a few seconds before the wobble becomes too great, and that is perfectly fine. The foot is placed back on the ground, and the process is repeated. It is not an exercise of strength or endurance. It is an exercise of awareness. As this becomes more comfortable, one can introduce subtle progressions, perhaps trying it on a slightly softer surface, like a thick rug or carpet, which forces the ankle to work a little harder, or, for just a single second, closing the eyes. This simple act removes visual input, forcing the brain to rely almost entirely on the signals coming from the foot and inner ear, dramatically accelerating the retraining process. But at all times, the sturdy support must be within immediate reach. Safety is the non-negotiable foundation upon which this confidence is rebuilt. Mastering this simple static hold is a profound first step, but it is only the beginning. The real world is not static. It is dynamic. A shocking number of serious falls happen not while walking in a straight line, but during a simple turn or a sudden change in direction. The next phase of retraining addresses this potentially lethal, everyday motion. Turning is a remarkably complex neurological event. It involves a rapid shift of one's center of gravity, while the head and eyes reorient to a new target. This sequence requires the brain to process a sudden and massive flurry of new information from the feet, the inner ear's vestibular system, and the eyes, all at the same time. When the proprioceptive signals from the feet are weak or delayed, the brain's calculation can be thrown off, leading to that disorienting, lurching sensation of losing control. To retrain this dynamic skill in a safe environment, one can use a technique called the clock face step. Imagine standing in the center of a large clock painted on the floor. With a sturdy support still nearby, one stands on the left foot, and uses the right foot to gently tap the floor at the 12 o'clock position. Then the foot is brought back to the center. Then a tap to the 1 o'clock position and back to the center. Then 2 o'clock and back to the center. The movement should be slow and deliberate. The goal is not to stretch or to lunge, but to force the brain to manage the controlled, incremental shift of weight in multiple directions. After tapping all the way around to 6 o'clock, one switches, standing on the right foot and tapping with the left. This exercise systematically retrains the brain to anticipate, rather than react to, a change in direction. It rebuilds the connection necessary for fluid, confident movement. But there is a hidden variable, a common household item, that actively sabotages this entire process, rendering these exercises almost useless, if not addressed. This silent saboteur is likely in one's home right now, and its effect on the body's sixth sense is something that has been overlooked for decades. What is this saboteur, this Trojan horse, that we willingly bring into our homes, believing it offers protection, when in fact it systematically dismantles our most critical survival sense? Look down at your feet. The answer is likely right there. It is the modern shoe. For generations, we have been told a story that our feet are fragile structures that need to be supported, cushioned, and protected at all costs. We've been sold arch support, motion control, and memory foam mattresses for our feet. But what if this story is profoundly wrong? What if the very thing we believe is a shield is actually a sensory deprivation chamber? Your foot contains over 200,000 nerve endings. It is one of the most nerve-rich parts of the human body, designed to be a master data gatherer. It is meant to feel the subtle textures of the ground, the minute shifts in incline, the difference between a patch of damp grass and a loose pebble. This constant stream of high-fidelity information is what the brain uses to build its map of the world and orchestrate balance. But when we encase it in a thick, rigid coffin of rubber and foam, we blind it. The brain, starved of clear signals, receives only muffled, garbled noise. It's like trying to read a book while wearing blurry goggles and thick winter gloves. The brain can't make the fine-tuned, instantaneous adjustments required for stable movement because it simply cannot feel what is happening. The muscles in the foot and ankle, no longer needing to make these micro-corrections, begin to atrophy. The system degrades, day by day, year by year. This is why performing the exercises we discussed while barefoot, in the safety of your own home, is not just a small tweak, is a game changer. Reattempting that simple one-legged stand without shoes transforms the exercise. Suddenly, you can feel your toes gripping the floor. You can feel the skin stretching, the tiny bones of the foot shifting. The volume of the conversation between your foot and your brain is turned up to maximum. Performing the clock-face step barefoot provides the brain with a flood of precise data about how your center of gravity shifts over your foot in 12 distinct directions. This is the raw data it has been starved of for years. But this raises a crucial, practical problem. We cannot, and should not, walk around barefoot everywhere. The modern world is filled with hazards. So how do we bridge the gap between this essential retraining and the reality of daily life outside the home? The solution lies in understanding the 3 hidden characteristics of footwear that either promote this connection or sever it completely. And these 3 hidden characteristics are not what you think. We've been trained to look at price tags and brand names, but the truth is far simpler and far more insidious. Because what if I told you that one of the most common features in modern footwear wasn't designed to help you, but to systematically weaken you? What if the problem your expensive, supportive shoes are trying to solve is a problem that the shoes themselves created in the first place? This isn't a story about a mistake in design. This is a story about a feedback loop, a cycle of manufactured weakness. Let's start with the first and most deceptive culprit, the toe spring. Take almost any shoe you own and place it on the floor. See how the front of the shoe curves upwards, lifting the toes off the ground? That's toe spring. The marketing story is that it helps your foot roll forward as you walk. It sounds helpful, even efficient, but the physiological reality is a catastrophe for your feet. Your toes, particularly your big toe, are designed to be powerful anchors. They are meant to grip the ground and provide the final push-off for every single step you take. But by artificially lifting them, toe spring prevents your toes from ever doing their job. It locks them into a state of chronic extension. The muscles on the bottom of your feet, the ones that create your powerful arch and give you propulsive force, never get to fully engage. They become long, weak, and unresponsive. They atrophy. And what happens when the muscles that support your arch collapse? You develop flat feet and plantar fasciitis. And what is the industry's solution? More arch support. A rigid brace to prop up a structure that the shoe itself has systematically dismantled. It is a brilliant business model. Sell the disease, then sell the cure. The second hidden characteristic is the tapered toe box. Look at your bare foot. Its widest point is across your toes. Now look at most shoes. Their widest point is often at the ball of the foot, before squeezing your toes together into a narrow, pointed tip. This isn't just about comfort, it's about control. Squeezing your toes together deactivates the very muscles that are meant to spread and stabilize your entire body. It effectively turns your dynamic, adaptable foot into a rigid, dysfunctional club. It's like trying to stand on the tip of a pyramid instead of its base. Your balance is immediately compromised, long before you even take a single step. We have accepted this as normal, as fashion, without ever questioning why our shoes are not shaped like our feet. But this leads to the third, and perhaps most profound, disconnect. The heel lift. Even the slightest elevation in the heel of a shoe, often marketed for cushioning or style, acts like a permanent downhill ramp. It pitches your entire body's center of gravity forward. To keep from falling on your face, your body is forced into a series of unnatural compensations. Your knees and hips bend, your pelvis tilts, and your lower back overarches. This single, subtle feature creates a state of chronic, low-grade tension throughout your entire musculoskeletal system. So there you have it. The toe spring that deactivates your arch, the tapered toe box that cripples your base of support, and the heel lift that throws your entire posture out of alignment. Working together, these three features place your feet in a cast. They prevent natural movement, they block sensory feedback, and they systematically weaken the remarkable structure you were born with, creating a dependency on the very products that cause the damage. But if a shoe can systematically deconstruct you, a different kind of shoe can help you rebuild. The solution isn't a brand, it's a philosophy, defined by three principles that are the direct opposite of the problem. First, a wide, anatomically shaped toe box that allows your toes to spread and function as nature intended. Second, a zero-drop platform, meaning the shoe is completely flat from heel to toe, allowing for natural posture. And third, a flexible sole that allows your foot to bend, adapt, and feel the world beneath it. This is about more than just avoiding pain. This is about reconnection. It's about reawakening the millions of nerve endings in your feet and restarting the conversation with your brain. It is the beginning of a journey to rebuild your foundation, to reclaim the strength and balance that is your birthright. The path to a stronger body, better posture, and more graceful movement doesn't start with a fancy machine at a gym. It starts here. From the ground up, the stories we've been sold about support have left us weak. The technology we've been promised has disconnected us. But you have the power to break the cycle. If you are ready to stop treating the symptoms and start rebuilding the system, to challenge conventional wisdom and rediscover your body's innate intelligence, then your journey starts now. Subscribe to Better_Health, and let's take the next step